I got to try to find a place with less wind. I'm recording this episode from the top of Mount Ryan in Joshua Tree National Park. Oh, Jesus, there's ants all over the place. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, and online store. For a free trial and 10% off your purchases, visit squarespace.com and enter offer code MARC at checkout, M-A-R-C. A better web starts with your website. And we're sponsored by CheapOair.com, the fastest way to compare and book flights on over 450 airlines worldwide. That means wherever you're trying to go, chances are you can get there for less with CheapOair. Right now, you should take part in their Absolute Getaway. One lucky winner will win 50 tickets anywhere you want to go in the lower 48 states. To enter, just download the CheapOair app and follow the instructions. If you don't win, you can still save with the promo code MARC, M-A-R-C. So get going on CheapOair today. Promo code and contest end on July 31st, 2014.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck thicks? I'm on a mountain. What the fuckadelics? Let's leave it at that. I'm on a mountain. I just hiked 2 hours to the top of this mountain. I got very little water. I'm not saying that I'm going to die or anything, and I'm not going to be over dramatic about what's happening here. I came to Joshua Tree for 2 days to try to clear my mind, which proves to be a little more difficult than I assumed. Today on the show, Brian Frazer will be back in the garage. God forbid this is the last thing they find that I left. Well, maybe it wouldn't be bad. We'll see how it goes. I came up here yesterday. Took a while to get out of the house. Just come up for a couple of days to try to do something, to try to be okay by myself, to try to, it's not like a long-term thing, but just to go on a hike by yourself, just to travel by yourself. Yeah, granted, I travel a lot when I perform, but just to go and all right, I'm going to hike up a mountain in 100-degree heat with a little bit of water by myself. Oh, there's a hawk. See, he would be eating me. If something went down right now, if my heart just stopped, or I just decided not to ever leave this place and just wait it out. I imagine someone would come find me. The Rangers would find my car. But would it be before that hawk ate my eyes? Do hawks even eat eyes? I don't even think they do. I think they like the thrill of the hunt. Probably some other horrible bird would eat my eyes. Hawk would be chasing lizards. It's got a little more pride than that. Maybe. Depends what the food sources are. Oh, all of a sudden I'm a scientist? Why the cynical, negative, kind of like existential darkness? Why does this... I'm going to lay some first-rate, top-notch navel gazing on you, because I am a top-notch, first-rate navel gazer. This fucking rocks. What if I don't even know if there are snakes up here. Here's the point. So how did I start the day? What am I really looking for? I just want to clear my mind. It's very hard. God damn it. People are like, you going to do shrooms at Joshua Tree? Are you going to do shrooms? No, man. No. I'll tell you what I did. I made some melon balls before I left L.A. with my Grandma Goldie's melon baller. So that connects me to that past. I got up this morning. I ate the melon balls and some blueberries with some yogurt and some coffee. I got a map to this hike that I'm on right now, and I did it. And I'm looking, it's fucking beautiful in Joshua Tree. I can't even imagine it. I could imagine it on mushrooms, I guess, but I think I'm past that. I think something else has to give, you know? I just want to be okay by myself and just be okay to sort of sit and be okay with myself. I mean, I know what it's like to overdrive your synapses and make them like shoot electric waves that reach out past the collective mind into the big old quiet way up there. I've been on the shrooms. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to just feel yourself hit the atmospheric cranium. They say that's where I drew the line. You know, I sort of drew the line at space because I don't have what it takes to live out there, you know. But what I'm telling you is I've jangled my way into a sort of vibrating enlightenment of which I think, you know, some of it's stuck. You know, that residue of profound awareness that, you are nothing and everything and very little lasts, very little matters. Those are the Zen moments, as you're sitting here. This is what I jotted down. These are the notes that I jotted down walking up the hill. It's just like I spend my life lingering on heartache and mundane to-dos, yes or no's, decisions, choices. It's all choices. And panic and worry. Good decisions, bad decisions. But that's it. Yes, no, maybe. Got to be careful of maybes, though. Maybes. If a maybe is not a part of a negotiation or fueled by some passionate curiosity, I believe it is the language of inert fear. You're just landlocked or stranded within yourself. It's posturing. So these are the thoughts that I wrote down on my way up here. They still seem a little cynical, even though I'm looking for space and I'm surrounded by dinosaur plants, looking out at this like awesome fucking terrain, this beautiful empty desert. There's not even cars, man. I mean, Joshua Tree National Park is spectacular. It's just a billion years of wear and tear from spinning around the sun and, fissures and water and shifting plates and whatnot. Oh, fuck, there's a lizard. What's up, buddy? What's up? Hold on. We're sponsored today by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, and online store. And I can get you 10% off if you use Squarespace now. Look, you pretty much need a website for everything these days. Are you a writer? Are you a photographer? Do you have an idea for a business? Do you have things you want to sell? The website should be a reflection of you. But let's face it, we're not all expert web designers. That's where Squarespace comes in, folks. It's simple and easy. They have beautiful, logical design templates, and the whole thing is a drag and drop situation. You don't need to know how to write code or anything like that. And if you're still having problems, they have a support team ready for you at any hour through live chat and email. If you decide to start your business using Squarespace to build your site, every Squarespace site comes with an online store. Plans start at just $8 a month, and if you sign up for a year, you get your domain name thrown in for free. Start a trial with no credit card required and start building your website today. Visit squarespace.com/WTF, and for a free trial and 10% off your purchases, enter offer code MARK at checkout. That's squarespace.com/WTF, offer code MARK, M-A-R-C, MARK. Squarespace, a better web starts with your website. I'm reading ad copy on a mountain in Joshua Tree. I'm doing ad copy, sitting here. It's a lot of ants. A lot of ants up here. Speaking of ants, speaking of bugs, I tried to save a bee. I watched this bee. I was sitting in the spa mineral water tub naked by myself in the middle of the day yesterday. Maybe it was the afternoon. Outdoors. And I saw this bee wandering around just outside the perimeter of the tub there, of the pool. He's just wandering. He's looking around. He's walking. And he just walks to the edge and just plops in to the hot water. And then I had those thoughts like, well, it's a bee. And then I was like, but it's life. But it's a bee. These things happen. He's not freaking out. This might be it for him. So it's sort of, I don't know why, whatever. I don't know what was going on. But it was flittering, and I'm like, fuck it. So I took my glasses off, and I used my glasses as a spoon, and I took the bee, and I put him back out. And I started seeing him wander off. And then I got back in the tub this morning when I woke up, and the bee was floating in the pool. So I don't really know what's going on, with climate change or atmospherically or anything else, but I mean, not only are bees dying, but they're killing themselves. If the bees are killing themselves, that's a much worse problem than them just dying, because that gives them a lot more consciousness than we assumed, and Maybe it's just the collective mind. Maybe it's just a fragment. That's the end. That's the edge of the collective mind. See, these are the type of top-notch navel-gazing thoughts that I'm having at the peak of this hill. Ooh, that's that shiny rock. A lot of shiny rocks. I feel all right. I'm comfortable. I got things to do, you know. But this was good. Maybe I relaxed. Who the fuck knows? All right, let's go to my conversation with Brian Frazer. We're sponsored today by Audible, and I can get you a free Audible download and a 30-day trial membership right now, folks. There are over 150,000 titles for you to download and listen to. The My Library feature lets you access your books anytime, people, from your phone or whatever device you wish. You can even control how quickly or how slowly your books are narrated. Go to audiblepodcast.com/WTFpod for that free audiobook of your choice and a free 30-day trial membership. Look, I usually at this point would search for some titles, but I can't do a search because I'm on top of a mountain in Joshua Tree. So why don't you just maybe put in Joshua Tree? Why don't you put in hallucinogenics? Why don't you put in Graham Parsons? Because I think they blew his ashes out around here somewhere. Why don't you just put in any rock and roll book? At some point ends up here at Joshua Tree. If you decide you don't like the book you choose, no worries. You can exchange any book you aren't happy with for another title anytime. No questions asked. That's audiblepodcast.com/WTFpod for your free audiobook download. Brian Frazer, I watched a Caroline's Comedy Hour from 1990.
Oh, God, why'd you do that?
To remind me of the Brian I knew.
Yeah,
to remind me of the Brian I met in Boston, Massachusetts in 1989, maybe? When?
No, probably before
88.
that. Yeah.
87, 88.
I was living in an alley next to an Indian restaurant.
Right, like downtown, right?
Yeah.
Like
Marlboro, Mass Ave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember we did a gig together, some horrible gig where you were standing on the floor with a sports jacket with big shoulders. And I don't remember that. I never felt we got along really then. I think, did you?
I don't know that either of us got along with anybody else, really. No, we were both, Yeah.
Difficult.
Yeah. I was probably more difficult than you, but I didn't realize it yet. You always kind of, I think, in your head knew who you were.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, even though you had problems getting along with yourself.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who I was till about 10 or 12 years ago.
Just recently.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that you were very intense. You're very, quick, awkward.
Yes.
And you always seemed very healthy. I always felt that you were some sort of beacon of judgment. That you lived a good life. You lived a controlled good life, and everyone else was crazy.
I thought that everyone else was crazy, not because I lived a controlled good life, but because I was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to think that that chaos followed me around, but then I realized, no, I'm the fucking chaos. And, I can turn anybody, I can turn anybody, my chaos onto anybody.
Really? How does that manifest itself? What would you mean by that?
I just felt that, I think to explain the past, I have to jump ahead a little bit because, until I was prescribed Zoloft.
Yeah.
By a dermatologist of all things.
Yeah.
My hands were itchy about a couple of months before my wedding, and dermatologist said the problem isn't in your hands, it's in your head. He prescribed me Zoloft. I wasn't depressed. And
itchy how? Like tingly?
No, I was literally scratching I was like one of your cats. I was scratching my hands. So he prescribed Zoloft, and I said, I'm not going to take this shit. I'm not depressed. And I decided to, take it. And within 48 hours, I realized I was a dick.
Really?
Yeah. I realized I was a dick. It gave me this calm feeling.
Did you try to pitch that as an ad campaign to Zoloft?
I tried to get involved with promoting Zoloft.
Really? Realize you're a dick.
Yeah. No, I realized I was a dick. I realized that, looking back, I always kind of had a girlfriend. And
yeah.
I always had friends. But
I remember your girlfriend. Wasn't she a waitress at the Comedy Connection?
Yeah, Karen. I'm still friends with her. She's married. And Yeah. Karen Cummings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just remember that you were very anal to me. Like, you know, everything was meticulous. Your hair was always in place. You dressed well. You seemed to be exercising a lot. Your comedy, I do, like, one thing I noticed in watching that clip from 1990 is that it was very abstract. It wasn't very personal. It was completely, if it wasn't just, you know, cleverly joke-driven, it was completely absurd. And you were sort of working that angle of like, I'm just a guy telling jokes, and no, I'm really weird now. And now I'm telling jokes again.
Yeah, well, one of the problems is I started comedy at like 20, or I was making a living at like 21 or 22.
In Boston, like
in
me.
Boston,
We were running around doing those one-nighters.
Yeah, but you always had a perspective. That's the thing. That's one of the reasons I like watching you.
Yeah.
I never had a perspective. And
point of view.
Yeah, no point of view whatsoever, because one of the reasons is I started too young and I didn't know myself.
Yeah, but we all do. I mean, what did you come from? Where'd you grow up?
Long Island.
Yeah, it's weird because I can never, you know, you're a Jewish guy.
Yeah.
But I could never associate you with being a Jew. Like, even when I saw your one-man show, I'm like, he's still not reading Jew to me. Even though everything is in place, everything he's told me indicates that he's a Jew. But I get hung up on that.
No,
shit.
both of my parents are Jews. In fact, Michael Lee called me Hitler's favorite Jew.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Michael Lee.
Yes.
How's that guy doing?
I haven't talked to him in 12
years. Is he out
years.
here?
I think so. I don't know.
So where do you source the problem? Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a brother and 2 sisters, but I source the problem to my mother.
Yeah. But I mean, so you claim that, you know, after being prescribed Zoloft for itchy hands because you were having a psychological stress reaction to the fact that you were getting married.
Right.
You realized that your problem was what then?
My problem is lack of perspective. I mean, my problem was probably a chemical problem in that.
But was it anxiety? Was it panic? Was it, you know, how did it manifest itself? And when did you first start to feel that it was happening to you when you were a kid?
Oh, when I was a kid, I had anxiety from probably my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis around when I was about 12 or 13. So it probably started then.
Uh-huh.
Because my mother was in pain all the time and always yelling and throwing things and shouting.
Yeah.
And because of that, my father had to take care of my mother. And also because of my father taking care of my mother, I literally grew up on fast food. My father would come home from work. He was a first grade teacher and say, pizza or McDonald's.
Yeah.
So literally 7 days a week, I had shitty foods. I ate Halloween candy like 300 days a year.
Yeah.
You know, there was no monitoring from my parents. They were too busy.
And how was that? Like, you know, what was your responsibility and how were your siblings older or younger?
Older brother, older sister, and younger sister.
So how did the household work around somebody who was, because I imagine when she first got it, she was still functioning, correct?
Yeah, but my older sister and older brother were kind of out of the house.
Oh, really? So you're like a weird younger kid?
No, I mean, I were like 5 or 6 years apart, but when I was 13 or 14, or they were off in college, so they weren't exposed. And my younger sister was like 8. So everything affects you in different ways depending on what, you know, how old you were when it hit you. So there was like, I grew up with stress, you know, once my mother got ill, and the shitty diet didn't do me any favors, and the fact that I could eat candy and do whatever I wanted to.
Well, I know, but aside from that, emotionally, I mean, your mother couldn't really parent, or what she could, or was there a system? I mean, how?
Yeah, no, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was very tough for her to parent. She actually continued to teach for a few years, and then
she was a teacher as well.
Yeah.
At what grade?
1st or 2nd grade. And then after a while, she was determined, and she taught on a couch in the classroom.
Oh, my God.
And then after a while, it was too much. She was actually a great teacher. I mean, she really, I can honestly say that both of my parents were great teachers, and you know, never raised their voices to anybody, and it was great, and it was good to have both of my parents as school teachers, because they had steady income and they were always home at 3:30.
Right.
So it was never like, oh, when's Dad coming home? It's like 9:30.
So you felt like there was a functioning family unit. It's just once the illness hit, everything became
everything kind of collapsed.
Yeah. And you were, okay, so you're eating shitty food every day. You're eating a lot of candy. Your mom's yelling all the time because she's uncomfortable and in pain.
Right.
Your father's trying desperately to keep her comfortable, I imagine?
Yeah. My father was still is a saint. He really, at her beck and call, 24 hours a day.
Did not get bitter?
Not unless he may have been bitter internally, but nothing out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like those stories. I need to hear those stories.
Yeah.
Of loyalty and commitment and self-sacrifice.
Yes, in fact, not to bring a damper on the,
That's all right.
but today is the, I haven't seen you, but my mother died a year ago today, which is ironic.
Just a year ago today?
A year ago today, yes.
So she lasted a long time.
Yeah, she was 78, I think.
Oh, my God. And so she died of that illness.
She was getting dementia. It was really, really, really bad towards the end.
And were you there for that?
I was in Dallas. I was trying to get there, but I'm glad I'm glad my plane didn't make it.
When she passed, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But were you in touch with her and going to see her? Where was she living?
They moved to Florida.
Oh, so they were in Florida?
Yeah.
So you would go to Florida?
Yeah, yeah.
And so they moved to Florida when you were how old?
Oh, when I was an adult, maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, but you spent time down there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible, horrible place.
Why do you say that?
Oh, it's horrible. It's like sometimes, when my wife and I go down there, we have like a little game. It's like every time you pass a store that's not Bed Bath & Beyond or not a chain, you give somebody $1. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Fort Myers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get into the stand your ground stuff, but
yeah, is your father still down there?
Yeah, he's still down there. He has a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
He met her on J-Date.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, yeah. He's the happiest person I've ever met, and I can't believe he's my father.
Now or always?
Now. It's unbelievable.
Well, I imagine that, when you give your life to somebody and you stay with that, you don't run away. That, sadly, there's probably a little relief if someone's ill at the end of that.
Yeah, and he said that, he promised God that he would stay there till the end and get her through it and all this stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and he is, like I said, I wish I had 1/10 of the happiness he has. And if he passed away tomorrow, I'd be like, oh, my God, he's had 6 months of pure bliss that I never even thought he'd have 1 day of bliss. And,
So you became very sympathetic with your father's plight because of how draining it was to deal.
Oh, I was sympathetic for years. I could not believe if my spouse treated me like that, I'd be out of there.
But like what? She was ill.
Yeah, but she was ill, but she was vicious. She was violent.
From the illness or just because she was bitter?
Probably both.
Uh-huh. Like it's not a symptom of the illness, but her lot in life had caused her to be angry.
Yeah, I mean, my father would sometimes have to move her from, she was in a wheelchair for the last 15 or 20 years.
Uh-huh.
He would have to get her from her, her hospital bed that,
in the house.
Yeah. To the wheelchair, to the bathroom, out of the wheelchair, and onto the toilet and back, sometimes 15 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And as my mother was being inactive, her weight ballooned. She probably weighed close to 200 pounds just because she wasn't moving at all. And, my father's not that big of a guy. And to transfer somebody like that, that many times, and she would scratch his arms, and he'd have to wear like flannel.
Why? Because she was mad?
She was getting crazy, and she was aggressive and violent.
Oh, my God. And you saw this? You witnessed this? Or you heard about it?
I heard about it, but, I would see the scratches in my father's arms.
That is insanely chaotic. But, the tragic thing is that you can't just dismiss it as, that person was crazy. She was ill.
I know.
And so it's a hard balance to make emotionally to try to keep that in perspective.
I know, but she was told by, my niece and my brothers and sisters, it's like you got to treat, Dad a little bit better. I mean, this is really, and she would just yell at us for suggesting that.
Really?
Yeah, and she would say, and again, it's all perspective because what Zoloft did for me, I see a lot. I know it would have helped my mother, and I tried to convince my mother to take Zoloft or to go on a pill like that because I think that there was a chemical imbalance in her as well that was creating this, like, she's a saint and everybody around her is an asshole.
Well, I mean, but that, what that is, and I think you're probably right, but, and I'm no psychiatrist, but it seems to me that the other part of your story that, we should get into is that, that's kind of a control freak disposition. That sort of like perfectionism and that weird sort of like, nobody knows how to do it right. I know better than everybody else. Why can't everything be the way I want it to be? And it seems to me, because like having not probably more of that than I admit, but I know you struggle with the hypochondria, and that to me, in retrospect, was really a way to simplify the world. You know, to turn down, like, if you focus on one part of you, it's selfish, but it's also, it's like an eating disorder. Like, you know, I'm dying.
Right.
I'm dying. It's a way of control. I mean, did you ever think about that?
Sure.
I mean, what were you diagnosed with ultimately? I mean, I know you're praising Zoloft, and I appreciate that, because I think it does turn down the noise, and I can see a chemical imbalance. But I mean, you know, did anyone ever say, look, you have massive anxiety, you have depression, you're bipolar 1, 2, what did you get?
No, I got none of that. But one of the things which was in my book that I still do is and that's why I brought up the Halloween candy before, and the bad food and the Big Macs and the pizza. When I have too much sugar, or when I have the wrong foods for me, that really, like, it still triggers really horrible feelings and horrible anxiety. So I went to an Ayurvedist, which is one of the chapters in my book, and basically they look at your tongue and they take your pulse and they give you a diet.
They give you you're either a Pitta, or what is it?
Pitta Vata, and they give you a diet based on your energy levels. And it sounds kind of new agey, but it's really not.
No, it's been around a long time.
Yeah.
It is a little new agey, but it's hundreds of years.
But little things like, you know, I'd have a banana every morning for breakfast. Horrible. Bananas are horrible for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What happened?
They're just bad. They spike my sugar, and it makes me aggressive, and it makes me a little crazy. So A banana. Yep. Which you figure it's all natural. How can a banana hurt me?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back.
Okay.
So when did things start getting, you know, out of hand for you? In what form? I mean, you said anxiety, but when did you start sort of? When I met you, I think you were still bodybuilding a little bit.
No, a lot actually. That's probably when I started to compete, when I met you.
Yeah, but before that, so you were a comic, but you had a gym in your living room, right? Didn't you have like weights or something? Or
no, that wasn't me.
Maybe I'm adding it, but I know you were ripped. But and that was a problem for me. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Well, it's weird to be, you know, a bodybuilding comic. I mean, I would always wear big, you know,
That's
shirts.
why you wore them, because you didn't want people to know.
No, I didn't want anybody to know. And when I was at the gym, I would never tell a joke. I'd be totally stoic, and people at the gym didn't know I did stand-up, and people at stand-up didn't know I even went to a gym.
But was the hypochondria before the bodybuilding?
The hypochondria probably happened around the same time. No, well, I mean, I was diagnosed with, I got the Zoloft when I was probably 37 or 38, and I started bodybuilding when I was like 16.
So when were you freaking out about your health constantly?
I think I've always been freaking out about my health, in that, you know, you see somebody that's not healthy in the adjacent bedroom. And also, once I got to college, I was the only person that actually thought the food at the college cafeteria was great. To me, it was the greatest food ever, because, you know, to go from McDonald's to up, it's basically like up a level. It's like, oh my God, this food is great, and you can eat as much as you want. So once I got away, I started to realize that, wow, it was a good thing to go away to college. Certainly.
Yeah. But like, when did the panic start?
The panic started probably 14, 15. I had like nervous tics, and I would. That's one reason I never could really play in a band, because, you know, to even play guitar for 3 minutes without like scratching my nose or like scratching my shoulder. Yeah, I couldn't make it to. I did a little bit of studio work, but I couldn't make it through, you know, even 8 songs on a stage without like having to stop.
And it's just a compulsion. You can't. You have to do it.
It's all based on the food I'm putting into my body.
But wait. I mean, I know you keep going back there, but I mean, you were in an environment that was chaotic. It wasn't supportive. There was always a menace of anger and a little bit of chaos. I mean, your brain must have been doing. So it couldn't have just been food based.
Well, the food really. If I was eating a healthier diet, then it would have been half the pain I was in.
Well, what were some of the other things you went through that you sought attention for?
I was just into bodybuilding, really. I just loved lifting weights.
Yeah.
I think because it was just a solitary thing, and it felt like I could, if I kept my body healthy, because I didn't even really start to drink till I was like mid-20s.
Yeah.
If I could keep my body healthy, then, maybe I wouldn't have the same plight as my mother.
Right. Oh, so that was the reaction.
That, and also because both of my parents are Jews, and, we had most of our family, especially on my father's side, wiped out during the Holocaust. So
You grew up with that?
I grew up with, my father would wake up all the time having nightmares about Nazis.
He was there?
No, he wasn't there.
But he lost his grandparents?
No, his grandparents were made it over before, but he lost a lot of relatives. And anyway, so I felt like if I could build my body up psychologically, then maybe I wouldn't get the Nazis wouldn't get me.
So that was your agenda, was to sort of like become well fortified on all levels.
On all levels, yes, emotionally and physically.
Now what was so how do you start competing as a bodybuilder? You're 18, 16, what?
No, I started competing. And again, one of the reasons I did this is so I could document, like, in case my health took a turn for the worst. And when I say bodybuilding, I also did natural competition. So drug-free, never took a steroid in my life, never thought about taking a steroid. So I thought that, I could document that I was healthy in case at some point I didn't become healthy. And it also gave me a goal to strive for.
So this was all really, like a complete panic response to your mother's degenerative illness in a way.
Probably, yeah.
So how did you start? How did you start competing? I mean, were you completely myopic about it? Like it was all you did?
I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to just have some kind of tangible result, because the thing about like lifting weights, if you lift weights and you could lift weights for 2 hours a day or 2.5 hours a day, like I did.
Yeah.
For 25 years, and then if you stop lifting weights for 6 months, nobody even knows that you lifted weights. So you're not building up really a skill.
Is that true? I mean, it turns into sort of well-defined fat.
Yeah, I mean, there's muscle memory, but for the most part, it's not like taking judo or playing the violin or something that if you put 2 hours into almost anything per day, you're gonna, when you're 40 or 50 or 60 years old, even if you'd stopped for a decade, you'd have something to show for it.
Right. So you're lifting weights starting in your late teens, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day.
2 hours a day, 6 days a week, almost never missed a day. Yeah.
And when did you start competing?
Probably, I won my first contest in '84, so...
Were you proud of that?
Yeah, in hindsight, you look at pictures and you're like, I'm a fucking idiot. What the... it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because you thought it was a useless skill, really?
Yeah, like I said, if my mother wasn't sick, and it also, I like having a goal. Yeah. And that's the thing about, without the competitions, it's like, okay, where does this end? I'm just a hamster on a wheel. It just never stops.
Trying to maintain this body.
It's great. That's why I don't lift anymore. It's just the maintenance is insane.
But when did you snap? I mean, how high did you get? Were you ranked? How does it work?
There's no rank. You just compete in different competitions. Iron Man magazine wanted to do a story on me, and I just thought it was weird, and I backed out of it.
But you had some shame around it when you started doing comedy. You didn't want people...
No, I mean, I was Mr. Natural New England 1984. I was, this is all from memory. I was runner-up Mr. Southern Connecticut. I think 1991.
Yeah.
I think I finished second or third in another contest in '85, the New York Metropolitan.
Now, when you're natural, do they test you and everything?
They test you, yes.
And you can sort of see in a body whether it's steroids or not, can't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a body fat thing, and the definition of the muscle is different.
It almost looks like it's just filled with water.
Yeah. Is it?
There were quite a few people that failed the test, but because they brought a lot of people to the event, they let them slide, which is ridiculous.
But they didn't give him the winner. They didn't let him win.
No. Yeah, they did let him win.
They did?
Yeah.
So it's a corrupt system.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
All right. So now you're Mr. Natural New England 1984, and you're doing comedy, and you're doing this. You're leading this secret life of a guy that lifts weights, professionally. So what was that transition like? When did you hit the wall with stand-up?
Let's see. I was probably 31 or 32. I used to be booked like 9 or 10 months in advance, and then, it's 2 or 3 months in advance, and it's 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and then it's just the gigs were started to thin out.
But did you think that you missed your break, or you didn't? You weren't. What do you attribute the sort of because you were good friends with Louis back in the day, and
right.
We were all friends, and we all knew each other. I mean, you were part of the crew. When you weren't weightlifting, it wasn't like you were partying with us or hanging out as much because you had this secret other lifestyle. But certainly I know from being part of that and having my own disappointments in life, after a certain point with stand-up, you got to think of practical things. And what do you think wasn't connecting about you?
On stage, you mean?
Well, yeah, just in the career you chose.
Oh, it wasn't connecting because I started too early. I didn't know myself. Now, the one-man show that I did, I felt that was the first time, even though I've been on stage 2,000 times, I felt like my one-man show was the first time I ever connected with the audience.
And that was about a lot of the stuff we were talking about. Yeah,
it's based on my memoir, so I was coming from my perspective. It was stuff that only I could actually say on stage. And it was true. It wasn't you were an absurdist, as a stand-up.
Right. So you were sort of hiding behind this other thing.
I don't know if I was hiding behind it. I don't know if I was aware.
Or that you knew necessarily how to make your life funny in that way, because the context of a comedy club is very specific.
Right.
And it takes a lot of weird courage and balls to sort of shape, your painful memories, into something that, other people will enjoy at a comedy club.
Right.
Because I saw your one-man show. It was great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So what was the most trying time then, in terms of there must have been, after the bodybuilding, so what did you realize with that? When did you put the weights down and why?
I put the weights down a little bit after I put the stand-up down, because I felt like they're very parallel in that I always need to have an end game, and with stand-up I'm like, okay, I'm 31 years old. I had just gotten a job on Mad TV out here.
Yeah.
But I was filtering my way down anyway, my way out of stand-up anyway, because I'm like, I'm getting tired of all the travel.
You were writing for Mad TV?
I was writing for Mad TV, the first season, with Patton and Blaine and those guys.
Yeah.
And I just realized that I didn't want to. I couldn't see myself in your 20s. Stand-up is like the greatest job imaginable.
Right.
In your 30s, it's still pretty good. But I was seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, do I want to be 40, 50, 60 years old out on the road? I was getting burnt out on traveling. Sometimes I was on the road for 7 or 8 weeks in a row. And, same thing as bodybuilding. I'm like, do I really want to put 2 hours into, or even an hour into my body every day? And it's just, where's this getting me?
Yeah. And when did you meet your wife?
I met my wife writing thought bubbles on the TV show Blind Date with Roger Lodge.
So that was one of your writing jobs?
Yeah. Yeah.
So your first writing job was at Mad TV?
My first writing job out here, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big break, really.
Yeah, it was a great break. It was great to come out here and make some money. And I wrote on the Tom Green Show back in New York, and then I wrote on the Ultimate Fan League, like a sports show out here. And I zigzagged back and forth between here and New York, wherever there was, a gig. I keep myself, even though I have a house now, I keep myself really mobile and really light, and
in case you have to jump to write.
Yeah. I mean, my wife she's a sitcom writer. She got a gig about 6 or 7 years ago in Manhattan, and we packed up and had no idea how long we'd be gone for, and it was easy. It took me 15 minutes to pack.
And and you met your wife how? You were both writing on a thing? We
were both writing thought bubbles on Blind Date, and we kept it secret. Everybody's like, "Oh, you should go out with Nancy." I'm like, "I don't know. I was just living with somebody for 3.5 years." And in fact, we got fake email addresses. I was Paul7500, and she was ZZZZ Sue. This way, because we were in bullpens, if people looked over our shoulders and saw that we were writing to each other all the time, they put it together. So not only did we keep it a secret, but then we went to Brazil for 3 weeks, and then we came back, and then we bought a house. And then together, yes, the same house we're still living in. And then we went back for another season of Blind Date, and people still didn't know we were even seeing each other.
Why'd you keep it a secret?
It's like 60-hour weeks, and it's just, I didn't need the extra pressure. Yeah.
And then you don't have children?
No kids, no, just a dog.
And you don't want kids?
No.
What are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid of anything. I don't want to. I want to at least go down swinging and know that I did everything I could to do this creative shit I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to relive. I don't want to teach a kid how to spell or drive a kid around to guitar lessons, and I don't have the energy for that.
Yeah. All right. So now let's go. Back up to the point where this moment where you realize you're a dick. Because, when did this, tell me about your reparative process that, you take Zoloft for itchy hands, reluctantly.
Right.
And then it gives you some space in your brain that you never had before to sort of, see your life and yourself in a different way. It kind of, it slows down whatever. It stops the spinning.
Right.
So what is the journey from that point on to sort of, change everything?
The journey from then was I knew that Zoloft had, I think the maximum dose is like 200 milligrams, and I was on 50 milligrams.
Yeah.
And then after I was on 50 for a while, the 50 felt like I was on nothing, so I had to bump up to 100 and then 150. And I needed to find some non-drug ways, some natural ways to kind of retain the Zoloft calmness, because the Zoloft,
So before Zoloft, you were just freaking out all the time.
I was freaking out. I was very, very angry. I mean, the amazing thing is I'm still angry, but I'm like 20% as angry as I used to be.
But how did that manifest itself? So when you lift weights, I can see that's a very effective way to treat anger. And I can also see how stand-up in its weird way, and I never really framed it that way when I think about you, because I watched the sets, but I remember you were edgy. But like, even the stand-up, there was definitely a rage component under there. Now, did you have outbursts of anger that were, that made you feel shitty and horrible?
As far as,
when you say you were an angry person, what were you angry at?
I couldn't tell you. I had no reason to be,
you could tell me.
Yeah,
what pissed you off?
I could say that, maybe I was mad at God for dealing my mother bad cards.
So you were pissed off at everything? What triggered you the most? Like in a day-to-day life, if you're calling yourself angry.
Right. Road rage.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, horrible road rage. And I can't tell you how many. I don't even want to call them high-speed chases, because my car has, is an old Volvo.
Yeah.
So there's not really high speed.
You would chase people?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And then what?
I don't know.
You would just chase them, and would you stop and get out of the car?
I have.
And what'd you do?
Nothing.
You just got out of the car?
But yeah,
And stood there?
Yelled.
Well, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, stuff like that.
And then you get back in your car. You terrify a person.
Yeah,
For doing what? Changing lanes in front of you, or?
No, it's happened so many different times. I can't.
Well, tell me what what was their transgression? What was their crime?
Okay, cutting me off in traffic.
Okay.
Sure.
You have one of those.
Yeah.
And you follow that person.
Yeah. I've been followed too, as well.
You don't have to justify it.
No, I'm just telling you. It's not like
I've never been followed.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm as I get older, I'm actually getting more shitty as a driver. Shitty.
What?
Shittier.
In what way?
I don't pay attention as much. I can't seem to parallel park as effectively as I used to. I don't know what's going on.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't stop at stop signs. Yeah, I don't go through them, but I just slow down. I've gotten 3 tickets for stop sign and stoplight violations. I'm not blowing through them like I'm not. I don't stop completely. So okay, so you chase people in your car when they cut you off. These are what I'm looking for.
Okay.
That's one way the anger manifests.
Okay.
Like at a Starbucks, is there any of that? What the fuck?
No, I don't really. I try not to go into Starbucks if I can help it. But yeah, no, long lines in general drive me crazy.
No, okay, so before the Zoloft, were you the guy going like, "Oh my God"?
Yes, I was. Yes.
So you're just teeming with rage all the time. This is something I understand.
Yeah, and the weird thing is the Carolines or whatever clips of me that do exist from television shows I did, that is so toned down and so placid and so mellow, because I knew that my rage did not translate into being on a TV show. So I would dial it way down.
I'm familiar with that.
But when I was in clubs, I mean, I was so aggressive sometimes. I can't tell you how many people in the audience I called cunts, or just how many near fights, with an audience member after, or
because you weren't getting over.
No, because people are that's the thing that drove me crazy, when people chat up front. Mm-hmm. And, you've done more shows than me. You know that nobody is hearing it except for you and maybe 3 people around there.
Right.
And everybody else thinks that you're overreacting because they can't hear anything.
So you and I were driving, hundreds of miles sometimes into the New England wilderness to do one-nighters at shitholes.
Right.
And you were just teeming with rage the whole fucking time.
Absolutely.
Now, you've chosen, it sounds to me that, okay, so you're less angry. Now, did you ever spend time in actual therapy?
No, just for religion. I have a lot of religious issues, so.
What does that mean?
I cannot go to a church, a temple, or any house of worship and last for more than about 10 minutes. So if I'm going to a wedding or anything, I freak out, and I.
What do you do? What do you mean? You freak out and what?
I freak out. I have to physically leave, and I have to, lay down on the bathroom floor.
What happens in your fucking body, in your mind?
My mind is, it almost feels like, I've never had a stroke, but it feels like I'm about to go blind. The room becomes pitch white.
Any type of house of worship?
Yes. I was the best man at my brother's wedding, and I fainted.
Because of that?
Yeah.
You were at a temple?
No, that was it was a religious, it was a interfaith ceremony.
And you can't, okay, so you're in therapy for that. What does that track to?
I was.
Well, what do you find?
That I have an odd relationship with God.
So that's a spiritual problem you have?
Yeah, but it's also connected to my mother, and it's connected to Nazis, and
you believe in God?
Sometimes. I call myself an agnostic. I'm not even sure if I'm not sure. But I'm not an atheist.
I get it. I have the same position, but I mean, but you have, a physical reaction.
Yes.
To houses of worship.
Yes.
Generally speaking.
I have to, Nancy and I go to weddings all the time, and we sit in the back row.
In case you have to leave.
Yes.
But I'm trying to just get you to tell me, at what point does the feeling happen? Is it when God's name is invoked? Is it when you see Jesus up there, or you look at a stained glass window, or a Star of David, or what?
It would depend on, the ceremony. If there's biblical passages, and if it's really, if it's just just a kind of generic service by a justice of the peace or something, then that doesn't,
That doesn't trigger you.
No, but I think another, which I haven't, my rabbi that bar mitzvahed me also converted and became an Episcopalian minister 2 years after he bar mitzvahed me, or 2 weeks or 2 months, something like that, but shortly after.
Right.
So that also put, sent my brain into a crisis.
Why is he switching teams?
Yeah. Not only did he switch teams, but he came out with a book, which I actually found on Amazon, called The Answer to Your Question is Jesus, Rabbi, by Christ Alive Publications.
Really?
Yes. I have a copy. It cost me
Were you angry at him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So so Jesus was not, you were on team Yahweh.
Right.
And Jesus was this other thing.
Exactly.
The other people, there was a competition. You have competitive spirit about that kind of thing.
Right.
And he jumped ship. Did you sit there and what, is my bar mitzvah valid?
Exactly. Well, not only that, but I hated Hebrew school. So to physically make it through Hebrew school and then have the rug pulled out from under you, that just devastated me.
But you wanted to believe.
I wanted to, yeah. I was going to give it a shot.
But it's just interesting to me, that you can't track those kind of feelings. Because to me, that doesn't strike me as, a chemical issue. That is a sensory issue. It's, again, like you're calling perspective or perception, that something triggers, a fairly profound psychological effect and physical affected you when you're witnessing Bible talk.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it is.
I think it's just, ultimately, gun to my head right now, I'd have to say it's a fear of God.
Oh.
It's a fear of God.
And that probably goes back to your mom, too.
Goes back to my mom. It goes back to the relatives in the Holocaust. It's just,
But did you think that your mother was being punished for something?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But possibly for being Jewish. I don't know. I don't know.
So you had that thing, like, why the Jews?
Yeah.
Why am I Jew? You had your self-hatred of your anti-Semitism towards yourself.
Right.
Was deep. Were you ashamed of being Jewish? Because this is weird to me because I could never, you never fit into my Jew abacus. You were fighting your bead position.
Well, my parents changed, my family changed their name twice. So basically
To pass?
No, if nobody changed their name when they came over from Poland, my last name would have been Dom, but spelled D-A-M. So I would have been Brian Dom, which again doesn't sound Jewish. So my grandparents came off the boat from Poland and they saw a guy selling fruit, so they named themselves Fruchter.
Fruchter.
So my father grew up with the name Samuel Fruchter. And then when he asked my mother to marry him, she's like, yeah, I'll marry you, but we got to do something about the name. So Frazer's completely made up.
So right out of the gate, she's like, I'm not taking that.
Yeah, I'm not taking the...
Fruchter.
Yeah, Fruchter. It's horrible.
Was your mother ashamed to be Jewish?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think my father is, well, he's still alive. I think he's proud to be a Jew. So I don't think that I have any of those issues.
Does he practice?
Yes.
It's weird when they get older, huh?
He goes.
He's got a congregation.
He goes once or twice a week. Yeah, he Torah studies and all that stuff. Yeah.
Have you ever dealt with the feeling? I mean, I know you're sort of, kind of boxing this into a chemical imbalance, but I mean, anger, is a sort of kind of broad mask for a lot of other feelings, sadness, fear, all that stuff. Did you ever tap into that? To try to sort of experience the grief of it all?
I think sadness wouldn't be the right word. Everything goes back to fear. I think in life most people's problems are fear anyway.
Yeah.
So I think fear-based would be more apropos. That's the other thing about because you had mentioned that lifting weights is a good way to get rid of anger, but at the same time, when your muscles are tight and you're walking around like that. How can you feel? That's why I practice yoga 4 or 5 times a week now. I don't lift weights, but the yoga has helped immensely.
Really?
Yeah, because your muscles are long instead of tightened.
Yeah, but what do you struggle with on a day-to-day now? What are exactly your struggles that need easing?
You know what? I live in a cul-de-sac. That's where the houses are pretty close together. So I struggle with noise.
Neighbors?
Yeah, and nobody cleans up after their dog shit, and the weirdest thing is when we bought the house, Johnny Knoxville was our next door neighbor, and not only was he so quiet,
he's a great guy,
but he cleaned up after his dog every single time.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy.
Yeah, no, but I mean he was quiet, polite, he was great, and now we have these people with 3 kids, and I swear they've never said. That the parents have never said, you know what, it's 6:30 in the morning. You can't just yell in the cul-de-sac. So I have a lot of noise issues. But
you're still in a day-to-day struggle with control issues and rage.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a very, very I don't have a wide range of a wide margin of error in my life. Yeah. Now, I'm not an alcoholic, or I don't have any other vices, but as far as rage goes, and
the need to control.
I think it is the need to control. You're right. I started doing meditation, and that's this new thing called Headspace, which I've been addicted to the last 2 months, and that's helped also. And that's kind of what it says. It's like, when you're listening to noises, what noises do you like, what noises don't you like, and why? Mm-hmm. And so control could probably also be that. So
you have a hard time with the idea that, and I guess this would go back to the God thing, that essentially the horrible realization about being alive is you have control over almost nothing.
That's a good existential
fact.
Yeah, I know.
It's a hard one to wrap your brain around.
Yeah.
You can control what you put in your mouth and hopefully what you can do with your hands. And I imagine, and I don't usually get into this much speculating or analyzing. I imagine that to watch your mother slowly lose control of every part of herself without a choice had to be just fucking brutal.
Yes, but here's what, and again, this is going back to control. I think she did have a choice, because not that she would have had a great life, but she could have had a better life. She didn't really care about physical therapy or doing experimental,
She gave up.
Yeah, but even simple things like acupuncture that aren't, crazy things. But she could have had a much, much, much better life. She could have gone to physical therapy. She could have gone to mental therapy. She could have had, gone on some medication that would have helped her mind. She could have had acupuncture. There are a million other things that she could have tried.
So you're mad at her
for
not doing that and just beating the shit out of your father and you mentally.
Yeah.
So, all right, take me through the path. Okay, so you tap out on Zoloft.
Right.
And so that's no longer an option, or you were able
No, I'm still on Zoloft.
But you maxed out.
No, I got up to 150 and then I went back down because I didn't want to. I went up to 150 milligrams, now back down to 100.
And it's still working? It's effective?
You know what? I've tried to go back down to 50, and I feel myself slipping, so I go back up to 100.
Slipping into...
Yeah, just I don't want to, go back into a rageful state.
Did you ever rage out at your wife?
Never at a woman ever. Even pre-Zoloft.
At the world, but not at a woman?
Never at a woman. Nope.
People you didn't know?
Yes. Yeah.
And, okay, so take me through the other things. So you went to the Ayurvedist, or the Ayurvedic doctor.
Right.
So you still honor that eating?
I honor it as much as I can, but it's pretty strict, and even in a place like L.A., which is, the easiest place to shop and find good foods, it was, it's like anything else. You really have to be, when you go out to eat, you have to either bring stuff, I'm not going to bring stuff with me. Yeah. So I do the best I can. That's all I can say.
And what other sort of actions and things have you involved yourself with to level off?
I'd say the things that help the most are meditation, yoga, which is not, like earth trap. People are like, wow, really? Meditation and yoga help? Yeah. And the Ayurveda stuff.
What were the stuff that didn't work? How desperate did you get?
I went to Kabbalah. I went to 2 levels. I went to level 1 and level 2.
What'd you learn?
I learned that there's just enough for level 1. I learned that level 2 is just like stretching as if the middle act is just like the headliner doesn't show up and somebody's just giving you the stretch sign. There's nothing.
What were you going there for? What did you think you would find? God?
No, just some kind of other way to look at life. Yeah. I wasn't doing it as a gimmick. Anything I do or did, either for the book or for anything else, I really believe is going to help me. I really believe like the next thing is going to just help me.
Sure, that's the answer.
Yeah.
So you did Kabbalah. What else?
I did Kabbalah. I did Reiki.
What is that? I know it's a massage, right?
Something like they try and
touching and
pull bad energy out of you, put good energy back into you.
How'd that go?
It wasn't that good. That I wouldn't recommend that. I went to cranial sacral therapy, which actually helped.
What is that?
It's all these pressure points on your head.
Yeah.
But the problem is the guy's also at the same time sticking his fingers in your mouth.
Yeah.
And I actually had a gag reflex and threw up on him.
You did?
Yes, I threw up on him. I saw him I didn't throw up on him the first time, but I probably went there 10 or 15 times.
Really?
Yeah. But it's interesting. There's not too many cranial sacral therapists, but yeah, it definitely helps.
It's pressure points.
Pressure points on the inside of your mouth and on the inside of your head and then on the outside at the same time. Huh. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And in order for that to help, you got to go once a week or what?
Once or twice a week, something like that.
All right, so you threw up on that guy.
Yeah.
The Reiki, they did not succeed in pulling the energy out of you.
No.
The Kabbalah, did you learn anything in Kabbalah that changed the way you looked at things?
Yeah, there's something called the bread of shame.
Yeah.
Which,
I have some in my fridge. I use it for sandwiches.
They have this thing called the bread of shame. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Where basically, there's you can't expect things to be handed to you.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it.
You can't.
You can't. You have to expect to get good things that there's going to be, if things are handed to you, then.
Right. So entitlement is out. and sort of inviting good things into your life and working for what you get.
Yeah, you got to earn it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And there's some other things that were kind of interesting. Like you scan these letters, even though I don't read Hebrew anymore. You're just supposed to scan these letters, and it relaxes you a little bit. It's a big, I don't know. There's like 52 letters or something on a laminated board, and that helped maybe a little bit.
Well, any sort of focusing thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Ayurvedic got a little help out of that. Kabbalah, we learned that don't be an entitled asshole. Reiki, nothing.
Yeah.
Cranial sacral therapy was nice. Nice to be touched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoloft worked. What other ones? Meditation, yoga worked.
Meditation didn't work meditation works now, but back then it didn't work. I went to a weekend Buddhist meditation thing, and I think it was 8 hours Saturday and 8 hours Sunday for like $70 or something.
Right.
And I made it for 19 minutes, and I was just like, and I left, and then I went back in the kitchen, and I stole my check back out of the thing. I'm like, sorry, I'm not spending $70 to sit down for fucking 9 minutes. So yeah, so that was a disaster.
Must have been a combination of things. You must have looked around at where you were at and the people you were with. I mean, it couldn't have just been this doesn't work.
Well, it was I felt so constrained, and I'm not really claustrophobic, but I felt like there's no way I'm going to make it this whole thing. And also it's the people that were around you, like everybody has like a gray ponytail, and it was creeping me out. I had to get out.
So you this is a desperate journey.
Yes.
For relief.
Yeah, for relief. Yeah. The thing that probably helped me the most, which was purely accidental, is my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Nancy and I looked for probably 2 years for the proper dog.
A proper dog.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to get a dog that was too big or too small, and it had to have the right energy and the right temperament. And she picked him out at a pound, and I'm like, I thought he was deaf. He was so calm in the pound. I'm like, there's something wrong with this dog, and we would clap in back of him, and then he would just turn very slow,
Yeah.
He's the calmest dog, and to this day, if I drive with him he's not with me today, but I drive with him almost everywhere. And before I can have any road rage, he probably either smells something in me changing, or he looks at my posture, or he can just sense it. He'll scratch me with his paw, like a full...
Cool off, buddy.
Yeah, but a full 3 or 4 seconds before the eruption occurs.
Huh.
And I'm like, he's a dog. I'm not going to disappoint him. So he completely mellows me out.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he gets very irritated at me if I get irritated.
Would you consider it a service dog?
Yeah. No, honestly, he's been on 85 flights with me.
He's registered.
Yeah.
As a service dog.
Yeah, he sits on my lap.
For your anger problem.
Yeah. Yeah, he sits on my lap, and I'm completely calm. It's almost like, you're with a new girlfriend or something, and you're on a first date, and you don't want to
You're able to love the dog unconditionally.
Right, and you don't want to have him have a miserable time. So you
completely codependent with the dog.
Yes. Yes.
And it's healthy.
It's working for me.
Do you have fear about that dog passing?
Every day.
How old is the dog?
He's 11.
Uh-huh.
But he gets an hour of exercise at the park chasing a ball 7 days a week. And then another 45-minute walk in the afternoon. He's in great shape.
Well, how are you at sort of future projecting? I mean, do you panic about that?
I only future project.
You do?
Yeah, I tend not to live in the past. I tend to live completely in the future. And
it's always bad.
It's not great, but yeah, no, I look way too far into the future. I wish I could live in the present, and or even the past is sometimes better than to always be looking ahead in the future.
Because your brain doesn't let you visualize a good future necessarily. It's always crisis management.
No, it's not really crisis management. It's just looking ahead, and it's not taking advantage of the moment.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, this is going to be bad.
No, it's not necessarily my dog's ultimate outcome will be bad, but that's a proven proven formula.
I think all of our outcome.
Yes,
is,
exactly.